A very forgettable evening at BMO Field on Saturday that saw Toronto FC draw to the Sporting Kansas City. I was just about to call them the Kansas City Wizards, so not the Wizards anymore. TFC, of course, a 0-0 draw Saturday evening at BMO Field. Dwayne Rollins, my good friend that writes for the Canadian Soccer News website, had an interesting article up today where he basically is writing off the season when it comes to TFC's chances for making the playoffs, very simply based on their home record for the season so far. That's seen in 9 MLS games right now, 2 wins, 2 losses, and 5 draws. Goals for and against, 10 goals for, 14 against. If you take a look at the points that TFC has been able to secure, you get 3 for a win and 1 for a draw, and nothing, of course, for a loss like last week against Philly. If you take a look at the percentage of points that Toronto FC has been able to secure at home this season, it's one of the worst numbers in all of MLS. It's 40.7%. That's the points that they've been able to secure. Now, I went and took a look at 2009 today, which was, of course, the season where Mo Johnston, rolled the bones, blew all of his allocation money, and tried to put the best team on the field he could in year 3 to get TFC into the playoffs. That was the best year for TFC's home record, of course, and they just missed the playoffs at the end of the season by a couple of points. So I wanted to use that as a sort of a benchmark to go by to see really where TFC is right now. In 2009, in 15 games, there were 8 wins, only 3 losses, and 4 draws. 20 goals scored for, 14 goals scored against at home at BMO Field in 2009. Just a little under 2/3 of the home points on offer were secured, 64.4% to be precise. So far this year, TFC has scored 10 goals at home and has already conceded 14 goals. That's the same amount that they conceded in all of 2009, which was by far and away their best year at home. So those are very, very worrisome numbers. Getting back to Dwayne for a moment on Canadian Soccer News, he's actually, as I stated, writing things off. And it's really hard in a lot of ways to argue with the numbers. The numbers really speak for themselves. When you're not capturing at least 60 to 65% of your home points, you're not really giving yourself much of a chance to actually succeed. Again, going back to 2009 for a second, TFC away secured just a little under a quarter of the points on offer, about 24.4%. So far this year, TFC has only been able to secure 13.3% of the points on offer away, with, of course, only a couple of draws to show for their efforts and no away wins right now. So it's a very, very tough road to hoe. In a league like MLS, you have to win your home games. It's really that simple. The league itself is not very... the way the league is structured, the way it handles travel, which I've written about extensively on my blog, it's not really conducive for clubs to have really, really good away records. Even some of the better teams in MLS over the last few seasons, whether it be the Red Bulls last year, whether it be, or this year, whether it be LA, who's been solid for the last couple of seasons, whether it be Real Salt Lake, even Columbus when they had that nice run a few years ago, it was very rare for a team to get more than 30 to 35% of the points on offer away from home. So it's an extremely difficult league to get points away. You've got to get your points at home, and 5 draws is just not going to cut it. Now, I'm not willing to write the season off yet when it comes to Major League Soccer, because again, all it takes is a few lucky wins, maybe some balls hopping one way instead of hopping the other, that could, at least for the short term, get TFC back into the hunt. And there are 2 additional playoff spots available for the 2011 season than there were, for example, back in 2009. So I'm not necessarily willing to do that yet, but I really think the TFC can't afford to drop any more games at home. They have to run the table at BMO Field. BMO Field became a fortress in 2009. That gave them a fighting chance to get into the playoffs. Their away record let them down. This year, the away record is even worse than it was in 2009 overall. and the home record, dropping points at home is the very, very worrisome number. I get where you're coming from, Dwayne, but I'm not really ready at this point to actually completely throw it all away. The game itself, good to see Nana Adekora back on the field. I was at practice on Friday and had a quick chance to chat with him. He's pretty gutted over what happened to Adrian Can. I'm sure on one side, on the flip side, I'm sure he's probably very happy to be finally getting the opportunity to play again. It seems like the kid, if he didn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have any. He did pick up an injury yesterday where he had to be subbed off for youngster Donnell Henry, who came on and had a really nice scoring chance late in the game as well that could have won it for Toronto FC, which would have been pretty ironic that a squad defensive player from the academy could have won the game. Alas, it didn't happen, of course. He picked up a quad injury. We don't know the extent of it. He was getting scanned today. We should be hearing from the club tomorrow, and if I hear anything, I'll obviously post it as to the status of Nana Adekora. The overall defensive effort, I think, was much better. Whether that was, again, motivation, whether that was the change in lineup, whether that was a renewed coaching emphasis on defense, I don't really know. But overall, going from 6 goals against to 0 goals against is something positive for the club to build on. Giving Kansas City only 2 shots on goal, only one of them a real decent scoring chance from Mr. Teal Bunbury. Don't get me started on him. Eckersley continued to look good as well yesterday. And the TFC defenders, and whether this was Kansas City playing a fairly packed midfield with only one player up top, and that was Bunbury. They were playing a 4-5-1. It seemed like the TFC defenders had a little more time on the ball than that really pressing line that Philadelphia played with them the week before. They were able to get the ball pretty efficiently up the field vertically, rather than a lot of that lateral ticky-tacky stuff that got them into trouble the week before. But anyway, they once the midfielders got the ball, it seemed like they didn't really know what to do with it. TFC only had maybe 3 or 4 decent chances on goal as well, and it was really, really difficult for any TFC offensive player to really get in the game when they weren't getting a lot of service from out wide or through the central part of the midfield. So it was not a 6-2, it was a 0-0. But right now, having a team coming in on the back of a 10-game road trip, which is what Kansas City was faced to start the season with because their new stadium is being built and being opened this week, not being able to score 1 on a team like that would have been tired, that's been living out of suitcases for a couple of months, is really, really indefensible. And it's really, it really speaks to the need for Toronto FC to really do something to actually improve the outlook of the squad over the next coming weeks. So they're off to Los Angeles this week at the Home Depot Center to play the Los Angeles Galaxy. I took a little look at the numbers as well. TFC's played 9 games with the Galaxy over the last 4 years, and not a bad record overall. 2 wins and 3 losses overall, 4 draws in those games. LA has a +1 goal differential over those 9 games, which is by all accounts with one of the better teams in the last number of years in Major League Soccer. A pretty good achievement for Toronto FC. Away, TFC did score 1 away win at the Home Depot Center. They've got 1 loss and 2 draws as well. So it is a place that TFC has done relatively well at historically, and whether that can be converted into some points, of course, we'll have to see. I'll have much more about the Los Angeles game over the coming days, and of course, Landon Donovan is not going to be there. He's going to be with the U.S. national team that's going to be playing in the Gold Cup this week. So LA is going to be probably a little more shorthanded than Toronto FC is, considering that we've lost Williams and de Guzman. Now, obviously, there's a lot of talk out there today, and I mentioned, of course, what Dwayne Rollins wrote on the Canadian Soccer News site, and I've given you some numbers as well that actually speak to the fact that TFC is going to have a very difficult job ahead in order to get into the playoffs. I think one thing that yesterday's game told me as well is that reinforcements, defensive and offensive reinforcements, are critically needed right now. I'm not willing to throw in the towel on the 5th of June. I am pretty well going to have my decision made, I think, by the end of this month. There's some tough games ahead. There's some tough road trips ahead. The team is going to be shorthanded in a couple of respects, of course. There's been injuries that they've had to deal with as well, and God forbid there may be more down the pike, who knows. But at the end of the day, Paul Mariner and Aaron Vinter have talked about reinforcements. Reinforcements have to come now, whether it be for the morale of the fans, whether it be for the value that paying customers feel that perhaps they're not getting from a 2-win, 2-loss, and 5-draw home record, whether it be 5 years of a playoff utility for Toronto FC. Pick your reasons, whatever it is. They've talked about the need for the squad to be improved and for reinforcements to be brought in. That has to happen sooner rather than later, because if things keep going the way they're going, the season is going to be over before we get to Canada Day, and hopefully that's not something that's going to happen. So that's it. Have yourself a wonderful week. I'll have another video blog up on next Sunday after, of course, the LA Galaxy game away next Saturday evening. And I'll have lots of posts on the blog this week as well about the build-up to the LA game, and if, of course, any reinforcements are going to be on the way for Toronto FC. You folks have yourselves a wonderful week. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate all the comments, good or otherwise, that I receive. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.